This is CNB, the program that brings you the very latest from the world of automobiles. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Patnankar. Thank you for joining us, folks. The very latest indeed is what's right here with me. The Datsun Go has finally driven in. We've talked about it for months. It is the revival of the Datsun brand, the fact that it's a new entrant into our market and also the global stage. That's what gets me excited. So is the car good enough? What are the prices like? That's what you want to know? We've got all of that. Now the advantage that the Go has is that it's really ample looking. That's something we've spoken about. It's got an attractive face, it looks big, and you know what it is? It is a bigger car than what you see as far as competition goes. Mainly the top-end versions of the Hyundai Eon and the Alto K10 from Maruti. But then you know what? You got certain things that show up. The little wheels, which have been of course brought in for extra fuel efficiency, and the wheel well, which isn't even finished off with just black paint. I mean, forget about cladding, there isn't even paint in there. That kind of shows up as a little bit cheap to me. At the back, again, nice ample boot gives you the impression that there's going to be lots of space here, and it's attractive. Again, the Go badging, the nice big tail light, all of that I think is something that will definitely bring buyers in. The way it's going to work is that Nissan will be selling the Datsun brand alongside its own brand inside the same dealership. For starters, all 125 dealers will stock both Nissan and Datsun brand cars. So it's going to be a fairly good network, but that's the part where Nissan needs to prove that it can actually deliver to this kind of a frugal-oriented buyer. So that is the Go, our first impression of it. A quick look at the prices now. So we'd always told you there will be three variants. The names are interesting, D, A and T. Dream, Access, Trust, the three brand pillars for Datsun, remember. And there will be a smaller car than the Go that comes in a little bit later. That's the Ready Go. You saw it at the Expo. The bigger one is the 7-seater MPV, the Go Plus, which will arrive sooner, perhaps later this year. Now, the prices could have been maybe 10,000 rupees cheaper to make things really compelling, but good prices nonetheless.
It's different brand, and it's not easy to do the different things under one roof. But to start with, we have only one product, and we are going to have up to the three models within 3 years. But the number one, the viability is the issue for us to the market the Datsun. And more importantly for customers, not only sales but service. After sales service is the most important. So we have already 125 dealership with the service shop. So why don't we take advantage of that? Easy starting point. In the future, you may see the again Nissan only shop or Datsun only shop.
What is interesting is that you will have a certain amount of product overlap because you also have the Micra Active. How will you deal with that?
Ultimately, it's a choice of the customers, and we think the when we develop the products, all the products, we specify the target customers and tailor-made customers for those target customers. For Datsun, we did so, and for Micra Active, we did so. And we think those are different type of their customers.
Now, another new brand that recently rode into the market is Indian, the cult bike brand from the US. It's nice to see another arrival in India. Ashish Jha checked out the Chief.
Yes, it would possibly have been an insult if we started a review for a mechanical wonder like this by showing you this motorcycle standing still? Right from the very first twist of the throttle, you know the Indian Chief is all about torque and how. The torque spread is extremely linear, and at low revs all you need to do is just give the throttle a little hint of a twist and the Indian simply surges ahead. It's a beast all right, with 111 cubic inches or an easier to understand 1811cc in engine displacement. The Indian delivers 139 Nm of torque to the rear wheel. Just like other cruiser manufacturers like Harley-Davidson, Indian too has not revealed the horsepower figures for this engine. The 49-degree V-twin engine is air-cooled and operates via 3 camshafts. To bring down the noise and vibration levels, there is an engine speed balancer, but we have to say primary engine vibration is not completely eliminated, but that's kind of the point because it gives you a really nice feel of that massive engine. The brakes are very progressive with a reassuring bite every time you pull the lever. They do a massive job of making this colossal mass of metal come to rest in relatively quick time.
This motorcycle is all about attention to detail, and it starts right over there with the Indian emblem. Then you have the auxiliary headlamps, and the symmetry, I'm told, is continued throughout the design. The 2 bolts over here, there is a starter button and a fuel gauge over here, and then the whole thing just drops very, very seamlessly into the beautifully designed and beautifully executed fuel tank. The seat itself is very comfortable. I did not really have a lot of issues while riding it. The stitching and the silver accents look really, really nice, and just the way the whole machine is made, it's absolutely spectacular.
The bike's stance is such that you also sit in a proper and very commanding riding position. The bars are set wide and the legs stretch out almost like you're sitting on a custom chopper. The Chief is a large motorcycle. It is wide, low, heavy, and all that makes it a tad lazy and cumbersome around tight bends and low speeds. Gather some speed though, and the Chief is simply magical on the open roads, feels rock solid at any speed, and gives the impression that it's got an undying appetite for the road. Yes, we will be very sad to see this bike going away. The Indian Chief is priced at 26,50,000 rupees ex-showroom Delhi, but it doesn't matter because if you have the cash to buy it, chances are you already own a few other exotic machines. The bottom line is, the Indian is back, and how, and we couldn't be happier.
Now let's move on and talk about the Renault Duster, very popular vehicle, but losing somewhat of that popularity of late, which is why Renault has started something called the Gang of Dusters for its owners. It's a loyalty program. We joined that ride recently, but we had an ulterior motive to check out the new variant, the new edition that's recently been launched, which is called the Adventure Edition.
Last year's hot-selling car segment has been the compact and subcompact SUVs, with cars like the Renault Duster, Nissan Terrano, and of course, the Ford EcoSport getting most of the attention. Old guards like the Mahindra Scorpio and Tata Safari Storm also have some traction at these price points. The Duster was also the CNV Car of the Year 2013.
Is the Renault Duster.
But with the launch of each new product, the best-selling Duster lost some steam. And so now Renault has brought in a special edition which was shown at the Auto Expo last month. So what you get are smoked headlights, an integrated plastic bull bar with Duster engraved in it, and you get slightly exaggerated fog lamps. The side of the car gets a black plastic cladding that runs along its length till the wheel arches. The rear of the car doesn't have a lot of changes except for an adventure sticker pasted on the tailgate. the car certainly looks different from the regular Duster from the front and also gets gunmetal finish alloy wheels. Renault has introduced a new green body colour with this variant too. Renault has been trying to get the Duster numbers back up from 3,500 odd a month closer to 5,000 units a month. This variant is the latest effort. It's also launched a loyalty program for Duster owners. And it was at a drive from them that we got a chance to check out the adventure version. The interiors get a slight refresh. With a fresh, darker palette for the seats and mats, the rest is what you've seen before. The Adventure Edition is based on the existing 110 PS RXL variant and it's priced at 12,18,000 rupees ex-showroom Delhi. The engine under the hood is the 110 PS version of the diesel unit, and Renault won't specify how long this edition will be offered or for how many limited units.
It is time for a commercial break, which means also time for us to bring you the news of the week in our sector snapshot. See you on the other side. Welcome back to CNB. Now inside the Go, we've shown you all this, of course. Remember, Bala drove the car a few weeks ago. I have to say I have not been able to get over this joint bench seat. It's being touted as a USP by Datsun. I can tell you the convenience of being able to slip out from here and get out of the other side, that part I accept is logical, and for that you've got the gear stick that's been moved up. But this bench seat to me is scary because it will only perhaps encourage people to have two passengers up front besides the driver, or a child sitting up front here in the middle. To me, that's extremely scary. Remember, the car doesn't even have airbags as options, no ABS, and no talk about that, strangely, from Datsun. Though at the drive, we were told that such a variant is now under consideration. We'll have to wait and see what happens on that front. But again, the bench seat, to me, huge alarm bells, not too crazy about it. Though it's nice that the commercial for the car has the kids sitting in the back. All right, now speaking about all these safety features, I have to also quickly talk about a bit of a follow-up to what you saw on the program last week. We had the Swift crash. Remember, the analysis on that is still pending, but I had the chance to catch up with some of the people involved with these crashes. You've seen a little glimpse of them on our NCAP specials. So let's go ahead and get into that conversation now when it comes to safer cars for India.
Mainly what we expect is a reaction. We would like to see the reaction from the audience, from the consumers, from the markets. And after that, we expect, at least from our side, that it will create an inertia and sort of a consumer testing program will be developed from India to the future. That's what we expect, pretty much what we have in Latin America and Asia as well.
Alex, the point about consumers being convinced, as it were. The information has been out there. It's not as if any of this is a big surprise, perhaps, to people. Does it take someone to actually watch a video, see something horrific like that, when you see what happens with those crash test dummies? Do you think that's the thing that sort of convinces people eventually? Because they may still know about the safety features, but they don't just care enough.
Actually, I think it's a first spark to fire up a big reaction. It's already impressive to see, especially the children, how they move in such a crash test. And therefore, probably the first reaction would be, okay, the seatbelt is not enough. Even with the seatbelt, I can still hit the steering wheel, and it's still dangerous for me. then you need an airbag, and see how the airbag works for the consumers to see the difference, what happens with and without. There are systems that work one with each other. They don't substitute one to each other, the airbag and the seat belt. Both have to be in there working properly. So this is, I think the first step will be probably the first spark we started from that point.
Well, we certainly hope it evokes that kind of reaction. And of course, in India, we're not even sure about seat belts. So, there are people who refuse to wear seat belts. So we hope that helps too, in a sense, to send home the message why that's important. The part we've spoken about when we met the first time in Germany, about maybe incentivizing, maybe a different tax structure for cars that are safer, which kind of makes it worth their while for the OEMs to actually say that, all right, you know what, we're going to take this and run with it. How much of government support do you look for? Maybe not just in emerging markets, but in general, when you go in with a program like this for the first time.
If a government wants to inject some acceleration into this process, they can, for just a temporary period, a year or two, offer a special sales tax reduction, for instance, for new cars that meet certain specification. And what we've seen in markets all around the world is when that happens, the take-up is very quick. And it's a good opportunity for governments to play their role in all of this. And it's all about creating demand. It's generating that interest in buying safer vehicles.
In India, though, we've seen almost an indifference when it comes to government involvement. Do you expect that to change?
I think it should change, because what we have calculated that the social cost of the road crash accidents in India is 3% of our GDP, almost 90,000 crores of rupees every year.
That's staggering.
And on the one side, we think of smaller amount of excise duties and taxes. And on the other side is not only the social cost, but human suffering. And I think it will be the people who will actually bring this voice up, and the government will think of considering that, to save all this misery and what is happening, we need to give certain tax rebates, and that should happen actually.
David, I have to ask you to spell it out for our viewers, because the thing about some of these features being added in, and the misnomer that there's a huge cost involved, and which is why we end up paying more for models which have some of these features as standard. Very often you're also paying for a sunroof, and you're also paying for a touchscreen music system, and you're also paying for leather or 4 leather seats, which are called leather. How much should the consumer now take? What sort of a role should the consumer play to say that, all right, you know what, I don't want the frills, but I still want the airbags? Tell us the cost of putting in an airbag.
That's a very, very important point. And one of the things that we're a bit critical of manufacturers all around the world, this is certainly not unique to India, is you find that key safety components, they call it bundling. So you can only have this extra safety feature with better carpets, better this, better that. Well, I think that's wrong. I think the industry should make the safety features stand alone, so that you can just have additional safety features to a basic model and forget about the frills, if you like. And for instance, an airbag, it's less than $50 to fit an airbag to a car. We're not talking, hundreds, thousands to do this. But it's difficult for consumers to make that step if all the best safety features are packaged with all these other things.
Right, folks, we really want you to get behind this. Safer cars for India matter to both you and me. So remember, comment on this and keep this story going with us right here on CNB. Now time for that special segment right here on NDTV Prime's special edition of CNB Prime. Which car should I buy? A very relevant question coming in from Girish Sheshadri, who wants to know if the new Hyundai Accent is the way to go when it comes to a petrol car, or it should still be the Honda Amaze. Well, Girish, the novelty factor with the Accent is certainly much larger, and if you're looking at the higher variants, well then in terms of interior trim and in terms of interior features as well, the Accent gives you more. But the Amaze has that tried and tested Honda iVTEC engine on board, and you know what, a lot of times when it comes to resale, etc., a lot of people prefer the little premiumness of the Honda name, and the Amaze has done really well, so it's already been in the market for some time. So it's a bit of a toss-up. You want something which gives you a little bit more in terms of feature comforts, go with the Accent, otherwise stay with the Amaze. Our next question coming in from Jatin wants to know if the Safari is a better buy or indeed the Sumo. Well, the Sumo is a really dated platform. Not to say that the Safari is very, very new, but remember that the Safari Storm at least has updated the overall family when it comes to that particular set of vehicles from Tata. The Sumo, on the other hand, is just a really dated platform. They've been flogging it for some time now. So yes, it's great value for money. It depends on the kind of application you're looking at. If it's purely sort of people moving in a sort of a rural setup, then that's the kind of attribute the Sumo works to. If it's a city car, if it's a car you want to drive every day, the Safari scores much higher. So I would say then go with the Safari. So if you have any questions for me, please go ahead and send them to us. If you're using Twitter, remember to use the hashtag which car should I buy. That gets my attention right away. And you can of course post this on our Facebook page, or go on and open up the NDTV app on your smartphone or your tablet and use the second screen. Very effective way. You can also post your videos there, upload a video question. We will take it here on the show. Right, with that, it is a wrap here on the program. We hope you enjoyed the CNB Prime Edition, and we will see you next week. Remember, lots more coming up on Auto Prime right through the week at 8:30 p.m. Please wear your seatbelts. Bye-bye.